Till you get here, baby. You walk around the room for other minutes, spells doom and gloom. Because you come on so strong and you stay on so long. Oh! Ain't you something? Throwing it and showing it. How you doing? Nice to see you. You look good tonight. That's how you enter the room. You know, when I enter the room. Did I ever teach you guys how a lady should enter a room? You know, I used to teach a class at community college on how a lady should enter a room. And let me show you how it's done. A lady, when she enters the room, she should kick the door open, walk inside, and then go like this here. And just look around and wait for the applause. Do you know what I'm saying? You come in, you kick it open so they can see your panties. And then you go, and then everyone applauds. And you go, and then you blow a few kisses. And once again, nice to see you. You look good. Thanks for showing up. That's how a lady enters a room. And I used to teach that at community college. Do you believe that? I didn't think you did. Well, I thought I'd run it past you. Hey, I wanted to show you a picture of my friend. I think I'm a very good personal friend of a gentleman named Felix Koss. He's has a band called Felix and the Hurricanes out in the middle of Pennsylvania. And it's a band, it's a three-piece, and these sons of bitches work constantly. And Felix is the most working man I ever met in my life. He works like 40, 50 hours a week in the daytime building shit and fixing shit. And then he works 5 or 6 nights in nightclubs. He's about 6'4", 6'5". I guess he goes about 240, something like that. Big, beautiful hunk of man meat. And a few years back, him and his son were climbing a mountain in the middle of the winter. And they were climbing up all these like 200 steps. He said his son stopped to take a rest because they were just climbing up and it was snowing. And he said when his son stopped, he just kept going, went up about another 30 feet, and he took off all his clothes. And he turned around and he struck a Sasquatch pose. And I want to show you the picture of him. This is my friend Felix, the lead singer and lead guitar player of Felix and the Hurricanes. And that's more man. Tommy, you getting him good?
I'm working on it.
Take a good look at him. Son of a bitch is the hardest working guy you'd ever meet. His hands are like effing sandpaper. If you touch his hands, you're like, Jesus. Because he just works all the time. He's just one of those guys. He rarely sleeps. And I kind of idolize him. I know he split up with his old lady, and the kids were living with the old lady. And he wanted to be close to the kids, so he stayed in his van for a couple years while the kids were teenagers, just in case they needed him, so that they could come and see him. No more manly move in the history of time than that move right there. Respect. Lifelong respect. Hey, I bet we got some folks that watch the show that know Felix. And if any of you folks are out there, blow Felix a kiss for me if you see him. I know he's got to be going goofy like myself. Guys that really worked at playing music all the time. And Felix, no one works more than Felix. I know he's going nuts without being able to play 4, 5, 6 nights a week. Like I'm going nuts not being able to play 2 or 3 nights a week. It's a nutbag situation. But you know what I got? I know David Ruffin, you know what he had? He had sunshine on a cloudy day. How about David effing Ruffin? I mean, what a cat. When he opened his mouth and when he started stepping, you know, in our neighborhood on the east side of Pittsburgh, the Temptations were like gods. And in fact, you know, I hung out with a lot of the guys from Penn Hills, and they called them, the football teams, the Penn Hills Spartans. And they had a group of knucklehead guys that had their own dancing group. They would just dance to Temptation records, and they were called the Spartations. Do you love that? Not as much as I do, I'm telling you. Hey, we are here together. I want to go over a few things today. Talk about a few things, play a few songs. One thing I wanted to talk about today was this building that we're in here. The East Side Sound Building. Bought it back in 1981, I think, 82, maybe 82, and been here ever since. Struggled with it the whole time. Trying to keep it decent, trying to keep it dry, keep it standing, taxes paid, bills paid, and have luckily managed to do it. But I used to bring bands in back in the 90s and torture them. And I didn't take a lot of bands. I would only choose acts that I thought had exceptional abilities. And one of the bands that I worked with was a really amazing act. And what happened is I was working with a kid from West Virginia, and the drummer in the band, it was a little three-piece, and the drummer in that band and I got to be buddies. And after things crapped out with this singer I was working with, trying to develop, I took his stuff up to New York, and but it didn't work out. But anyway, the drummer from that band and I became very good friends, and and to this day we're still great friends. And he's my engineer and production partner. But his name's Bryce Foster. But so after that band split, he got involved with some new guys, and and they were looking to get something accomplished. They went to another producer and interviewed him, and they didn't seem to like him. He suggested that they learn more cover songs, and they were like, "Well, we don't do cover songs anyway," And then so they asked the guy that was managing my friend Elk, and they says, is there anybody else? And he says, well, this guy Norman Nardini, and he's a crazy nutbag, but he's good, and you might want to meet him. So they came over right to this building here, and at the time, I didn't have any plumbing working, and I didn't have any heat, and I mean, it was rough in here. But they came in, and we sat down and talked. And it seemed like it was a 4-piece band. Bryce, my buddy, played drums. Timmy Brock played keyboards. An amazing, talented musician played bass, Jason Truman. And the lead singer was a gentleman named Brett Kane, who was a big 6'4", I don't know what he weighed, but I know he didn't weigh 200 pounds, up above that. Just a big, strong buck of a boy. Really good singer, really good entertainer. Good, played acoustic guitar. And we had our meeting. And at the end of the meeting, I was interested in working with these kids because I heard what they were doing on their own. And I could tell there was a lot of potential. So I said to him, well, here's where we're at. I says, look, if you're interested in work with me, I think I'd like to work with you guys. And what I'd like to do is this. I says, I'd like to take you out into the room, which is this room here, and I'd like to work you up. I'd like to take a piece of music and work it up today, and then I want you guys to go out and play it this weekend. And if when you play it, people get excited, and I'll turn around and look at the stage, and people ask you where this piece of music came from, then I think you have to come back and work with me. And if everyone ignores the song like it never happened, well, then don't ever call my number again. They were like, well, that sounds fair. So that's what we did. And we worked up a piece of music, actually a song that I had written. But these kids had writing potential themselves. We worked up a song I had written called Any Fool But Me. Let me just give you a couple seconds of it. I had never done this song because I didn't write it for myself because I really didn't think I could perform it well. But it's kind of like a soulful piece. I kind of designed it after what I thought Marvin Gaye might write. I know that's a little lofty goal for someone such a little monkey to work towards, but that's what I was shooting for. But I taught them this song. I'll just play you one verse, and then I'll tell you what happened. And it goes like this here. I've been a fool for you since the day that I met you. Now I'm so much in love that I can't forget you. I've been fooled before, but I could leave the hurt behind. Now I can't see myself without you, baby, 'cause your love has made me blind. Does any fool complain? Let's see. You become the biggest part of me. Now I can't see the forest for the trees, and I'm falling apart at the seams. As any fool can plainly see, any fool but me. And on and on and on. Any fool but me. So I taught these guys that song, and they went out to their gig in Wheeling, West Virginia, and just played that song amongst the original songs that they were doing, and a handful of originals, or a handful of cover songs that they did. But they mostly did songs that they wrote together, and songs Brett wrote. And when they played the song, what I told them was going to happen, happened. Everybody got excited about that little hunk of musical meat. And then they knew, they says, we got to go back to that little greaseball, because maybe he knows a little something that could help us elevate ourselves. And so we ended up working in this room with no heat, pissing in a bucket, freezing our asses off. And I says, all right, you hunchers. And they say, Jesus Christ, my hands are cold. I can't work no more. And I used to do them 6, 7, 8 hours a clip. Tortured them. Because that's how you get good. You don't get good pissing around. You'll go in for half an hour, go over a few things. You gotta listen, and you gotta analyze, and you gotta draw the best out of each other. And these are the things that I have a nose for. You see this big pointy Dago nose? I got a nose for that kind of shit. And I would pull the music out of these kids, and but it was really fun. I forget what the hell I was saying. But what the hell's the difference, right? We're gonna be here. But anyway, this is the room that I would torture them in. We'd probably burn about 7, 8 joints during a rehearsal. Laughing, talking stupid, freezing around. Oh, I used to tell them, I used to say, hey, I offer you guys a germ-free environment. I say, you go in these studios where it's not cold. I says, there's infection, germs, they're floating around a room in rooms like that. I says, here, there's no germs. It's too cold for them. I offer this to you guys because I don't want you getting sick. And then we'd all laugh our asses off. Oh, they were all hillbilly boys. Good kids. But anyway, and that drummer in that band and I have still remained friends, best friends actually, and he's become, I use him on sessions now to play drums, and I beat the hell out of him. Trained him how to think. And it wasn't, this is a kid that you don't just tell him something and he believes you, which is that's what you want in a man. You tell a man something, he doesn't believe you, but he hears you, and then he gives it time to fester and sort itself out and find out if what you said is true for him. Because what might be true for me might not be true for him. So me and him always fought and would go round and round and round, and gained, we maintained this respect for one another, and he became now he's my studio drummer, my engineer, and my production partner. And I taught him how to hear, how to listen, how to think, how one thing that I see the producers today, or at least the guys that I know in the region, production starts with material. Like a lot of producers, the artist brings the song in, and that's it. But I believe it's a producer's job to take, if that song isn't up to snuff or isn't the right song, I think the producer's responsible for all that shit. And so if the songs aren't up to snuff, you have to take that material and get more out of it. And if the melody that they're singing isn't the ultimate melody that you hear in your head, you got to make them change the melody. And if the way they're playing a rhythm track isn't the right way, or if the groove they're using, you have to take all that in, because in the end, it's all on you. And this might sound stupid to say, but most artists aren't producers. And a lot of artists that write songs aren't even really writers. They write, but they ain't writers. You know, to be a writer, you really got to put yourself through some shit. And you got to go through the changes, and you got to remake yourself, unless you're a born writer. And I don't know too many of them kind of cats, you know. I know some people that think they're born writers. But it's something that can be taught and something that can be developed. But you got to open up your gourd. And you got to break down and build up your sensibilities for production and for song presentation. Heavy shit, right? We talk about heavy shit here. You're in Eastside Sound Studio looking at the Manful Handful. The Guinea with the Skinny. I like to play y'all a song I wrote a few years back. Christ, must be 8-10 years. Now 7 anyway. I'm going to play it in G tuning. It's a piece of music called Cornbread. And the past few years when I've been doing it with Larry playing keys. I don't even play on it. And Larry plays this, well, put it like this. I was doing it almost like a heavy track. I was doing it like a heavy version of it, like almost like Mountain or one of them kind of bands would play. And then I heard Larry playing some of this funky ass New Orleans shit that he does. He got an ear for that and a feel for that. And I just heard him playing those feels, and I said to him, dude, I says, you got to come over to the house this week. And I says, I got this idea. So I got with him, and we worked up an arrangement with like a New Orleans piano for this song. And the song's called Cornbread. And boy, it's delicious. So when we do it with Larry, I don't even use drums or anything, just piano and singing. But I try to put this arrangement together because I get some requests for this song, and I don't want to leave it in the dust. A lot of times I leave a song in the dust just because there's new ones coming, and because it isn't easy to perform a song by myself, or it's hard to get my guys to rehearse and all that bullshit. Little thing called Cornbread, baby. Like to send it out to a lady named Nene, who's a friend of my friend Lisa, and they're both from up in North Pennsylvania, by where Tom's from. That's where I met Nene. And she invited me and my band over to the house because she wanted to make us some type of cornbread. Lick it up! Nanny making cornbread, she fried in a pan. Every time she serve it up, somebody wound up in a can. All the neighbors and family say they wanna lick it up. Nanny making cornbread, well she didn't make enough. Nanny making cornbread, Ray dropping by, smelling like cigarettes and French fries. Ray said that cornbread, that's the most thing he loved. Nanny making cornbread, but she didn't make enough. Nanny making cornbread, Lucy gonna stop with a jar of the shine and a liter of pop. Lucy says she hungry and it's gonna get rough. If Nanny made a cornbread, but she didn't make enough. She don't make enough. She don't ever make enough. Cornbread, you can smell it in the kitchen. Cornbread, folks are finger licking. Cornbread, sure enough, delicious. Nanny making cornbread, Ray took a bite. Lucy slapped him stupid, then they began to fight. Then Lucy shot Ray cause he wouldn't share the stuff. Nanny made a cornbread, but she didn't make enough. Nanny made a cornbread, that's what they told the cops. Judge said Nanny guilty, just as Lucy Walk said. Cornbread so good it's a crime you can't stop. Nanny made a cornbread, but she didn't make enough. No Nanny making cornbread at the penitentiary. Ray Ray in the ground, Lucy walking free, and the woman tell the guards to wind up commies at lunch. But Nanny making cornbread, and she don't ever make enough. She don't make enough. She don't ever make enough. Cornbread, you can smell it in the kitchen. Cornbread, folks are finger licking. Cornbread, sure enough, delicious. Cornbread, cornbread. How you doing? You know what I'm talking about. Licking them up. Cornbread, baby. That's some good lick. That's some good stuff, right? My friend Nene. She inspired that piece of material. We are delighted to be here today. I did a little post on Facebook this week, and I talked about I think somebody put up a post that said they wanted to recommend what kind of pedals to buy for their guitar so they could have pedals to step on, and I just wrote riding bareback, give that a thought and embrace that. And the reason I said that is because I'm a minimalist. And I didn't realize I was until the past, few years. I started realizing I found comfort in not having things and and I guess it started when, computers started coming into recording and all these options, they started making amps where they would have sample the sounds of other amps, and you could plug your guitar into it and it would sound like all these different amps in one amp. But they weren't real sounds. They were like phony sounds that you could play with, but it was like there was no intimacy between the player and the sound. So in other words, when you would play these kind of amps, you didn't have a chance of finding yourself. And that minimalist thought of plugging your guitar into an amp and just playing and finding the magic in there. And, people say things like, well, that's limited. There's so many options. There's so many things you can do. And it's like, but when you do all those things, you're looking for something other than what I think you should be looking for. When you plug in, I think it's important to be looking for yourself and the voice that you can create through the guitar. Back in the day, when you heard Eric Clapton play guitar, you knew it was Eric Clapton. When you hear heard Duane Allman playing guitar, you knew it was Duane. When you heard Dickie Betts playing guitar, you knew it was Dickie Betts. That was part of being a great guitar player. And I understand that. Like Hendrix, when Hendrix played, you knew it was Hendrix, and Hendrix used some effects and stuff and pedals, but that was a different. That was like he pioneered the use of sounds, and yet never lost himself. I don't think, Stevie Ray used pedals, never lost himself. So I'm not saying it's the end of the world to use that kind of stuff. But I think if Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan played without any pedals, they wouldn't sound much different than when they have them. In other words, the way they play and the feeling that they emote is within their heart and in their ears and in their hands. And that's how you, when you stick to that minimalist way. And I think that, to me, it transfers into recording now, all these different options that you can use. And I don't like all them different options. I think those are, once again, they're deviations from having great material and having great words. You know, I think we should spend our time writing better songs and better melodies and doing better arrangements instead of dialing up all these phony drum sounds and, you know, delays and reverbs and echoes. I think it's all bullshit to me. And I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying, as a minimalist person, that's like, it just doesn't go with music with me. It's like in my van. I don't like having electric windows. I don't like having all those options on your where you push buttons and things like that. I don't like. I like it to be totally simple. That's when I'm the most comfortable. That's a minimalist mentality. And I make that joke. I've done it on the show before, where I say, when I open my closet in the kitchen, I want to see one plate, one cup, one glass. You know, I find comfort in that. And I know that's not a lot. There's not a lot of folks like that. But I think it's okay to be that way. And I know it works for me. The simpler I can have things, the less choices I have to make, the more I can get to the root of what I'm trying to do. Like keyboards, they have all these different sounds. I like to find one sound and just use that sound the whole time. That's that mentality of a minimalist. And also a traditionalist. You know, I told somebody one time, they were talking about, they wanted to learn how to write songs. And I says, well, a great place to start is to take a song that you like and then write one like it. And they looked at me like I was out of my mind. Like that wasn't, that line of thinking wasn't legitimate. Like someone that knew what they were doing wouldn't say that. And that's kind of the look I got when I told this person that thought. And really, I think I was hitting it right on the head. Because when you hear a piece of music that you like, it's like what I used to tell the Brett Kane band. They'd play me songs that they wrote that weren't really songs, but they were musical exercises that they put words over. And what I would try to do is take those musical exercises, shorten them up and sweeten them up and weave them all together, and then take the words that they put over top of it and redo them words so that them words had more significance. And I would call that taking the song, pulling down its pants, and seeing what it has in its shorts. And when I would talk like that, these guys were all younger than me and a little bit more innocent than me, and they would think, like, what's this old dude talking about? But they saw with the 4 years that we worked together, they saw that I never strayed from that mentality. And there was a method to that way of thinking. You know, you concentrate on the lyrics and the way the guys play together, and you eliminate things musically that don't make sense that some musician just put in there because they were jerking off on some chord changes. But what does it have to do with the delivery of a piece of music? And it was my job always, and still is, to get those things out of there. And meat on the bone is what I'm looking for. And that's how you find material that you can go into a room full of strangers. A room full of strangers. Set up your shit. Walk up on stage and start blowing. And when you, like I told that person, if you like a piece of music, just pull down the pants of that piece of music and find out, look at what they did. What were the chords they used? What order did they put them chords in? What was the pattern? What tempo did they use? You know, pop music it's like the NFL. It's a copycat business. You know, a blues song is a blues song. But the words are different and the melodies are different and the guy strapping it on is different. But the pieces of music, the meat that you're cooking, has to be similar in a way. So it's, when guys start writing songs, they try to write things that no one else wrote before. And when you do that, you're missing the point. You need to get into the forms and the patterns that the great ones that wrote in the most simplest ways. That's how you compete. If you can develop pieces of 12-bar blues or 3-chord country songs and have, like when Dwight Yoakam started doing his thing, you know, which is, he'd tell you it's an extension of what Buck Owens did. And but he did it. He had studied that way and broke it down so simply that it became a new form again, simply because it was in the hands of someone that knew what he was doing. And he delivered that Buck Owens style. He took out a little bit of the comedy that Buck used and the hokiness and put in sexiness and intelligence. But he cooked the meat that Buck Owens hunted for. And that's, you know, a true history. And it's a lot like, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan. He took Albert King's guitar style and mixed it with a little bit of Jimi Hendrix. But the songs and stuff, it was all things that other people had written before in a way. They just wrote, you know, had new words and they found themselves within the forms. And that's where the greatness was. They weren't using chords that no one ever used before. They weren't using rhythms that no one ever played before. They're using the same shit that everybody did, only they cooked it right. I think it might have something to do with like a cook. You know, all these people want to cook, but some people, when they cook, you eat it and you're like, dude, or ma'am, what you're doing here. And 10 other people, 100 other people could cook the same dish, but they don't know what it is. And that's like the simplicity of it and the tradition. Minimalist, traditionalist. If you mix the minimalist with the traditionalist, that's where I'm coming from. And for whatever the hell that's worth. Now, I'll give you a goddamn slap if you want one. Do we have any minimalists out there today? People out in the internet, land of the internet, that are minimalizing their lives in this pandemic. There, I said it, pandemic. I don't like using the word. But if you're locked up and you can't get out and do stuff, hey, maybe it'd be a good time to find the minimalist and the traditionalist within yourself. I think that there should be a new radio station, a new radio format, where all you play is great music. And you could pick, you know, the artists, you know, the real artists, and just play them all back to back. John Hyatt, Loud Lovett, Steve Earle, you know, Willie, Johnny Cash, and just take all these and the blues masters, Spooner Oldham, all the great songwriters out of Memphis, and just play all that great music, old and new, you know, because there are new people that are finding traditional ways of making great music, and they're Tedeschi trucks. How about this? Jesus Christ, right? Trucks. This kid, he plays slide guitar like no one ever played in the history of the world. He's created through, once again, studied, pulled down the pants of what Dwayne Allman did, got inside of it, and then developed it from there. He's a traditionalist, yet he's an innovator at the same time, like Stevie Ray was with Albert King. a traditionalist, but he took it to this new place, and this place of his own. How beautiful. I'd like to play a number for you and talk to you about it. Wrote this just a couple years ago, and back in the early 90s, I wrote a song called When I Die and Go to Hell, and it's on the Breakdown in Paradise record. It's a killer tune, a killer guitar solo. I remember working on that guitar solo. I worked on it with Rocky Lamondi, and beat the shit out of each other getting that thing cut. But and that was at my other studio over on the other side of the tracks, which was called Transport. Really cool studio. We'll talk about my friend Ralph Alpha that ran that place for a good while. He's passed on now. But when I wrote this song, I was thinking about the other song I had written called When I Die and Go to Hell. Some almost 25 years anyway before. Probably right around 25, 26. Maybe those 25, 26 years in between the songs, I don't think I could have written When I Die and Go to Hell in the past few years, and I don't think I could have written this song, When I Get There, all those years ago. So there are two opposite ends of the spectrum of a similar idea. And when I wrote this one, I wanted to kind of pay homage to my parents and thoughts of would I ever see them again. And another character that whose face kept coming into my mind when I wrote this was Glenn, the Big Cheese Pavone. And would I ever get to see him again? And would we ever be able to sit and laugh? Mother, Father, pure of heart, stood by me from the stars. Miss them both since they've been gone. Left me here, keeping on. See when I get there, think I can pay the fare. Heard it's nice up there, see him when I get there. Friends of mine, as good as gold, had angel wings, truth be told. Bound for glory, touched by the hands. Now they're living in a promised land. See him when I get there. I won't know what to wear, I'll just pull up a chair when I get there. I get where I'm going, I'll be home. No longer will I roam. Life I lived wasn't by the book. I got ghosts back then, triggers shook. Dungeon door, pearly gates. Call my name, clear my slate. I'll see you when I get there. We'll have a grand affair. Get on a chair when I get there. I'll see you when I get there. We'll throw our hands in the air like we just don't care when I get there. I'll see you when I get there. Well, see you when I get there. See you when I get there. Hey. See you when I get there. See you when I get there. I like that one. That one's a strutter. See, like that one there. Boom, 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 boom. I like to cut that with a tuba, playing. Hoo, 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 hoo. You guys like tubas? I love the tuba. When I went to high school, we had the champion tuba player for the state. And I never got to know the kid. And now that I think back, I go, Christ, I wish I'd have got to know the tuba guy. You know what? He had the lips for it. That's what I said it. Just saying it gives me a tromboner. Did you ever get a tromboner? Chicks dig them. Tom's here today. He came down from Erie. He always comes down on this glorious, and can I say glorious day. So beautiful. Autumn. 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 A perfect autumn day. My favorite season. Of course, I do like the spring. The spring. I put an H in it. Spring. But autumn, man, when it comes, it's just like relieves us of the summer heat. And then the colors, they unfold. And the breeze of the autumn. God damn. Love it. We're going to talk about a couple things today. One thing I'd like to talk about is that I just recently dug up the bones of some old music from the Diamonds. Diamond Rio. It was a band I played in. We started it in 1974 and did it until early in 1979. And it was really a fun project, and it was like my college education. And it started with me, the bead man, and Mr. Bubs McKeag. His guitar playing and his singing voice. And his letting me... McKeag was older than me and more talented than me. And but he let me step out of the way and let me pursue my insane interest in arrangement and production, and got me started and gave me his voice and his playing as something to work with. And I can't ever forget that. But it started with the three of us, McKeag, Beadman, and me. And then we got a record deal with a division of Atlantic for a song called Ain't That Peculiar, which I put an arrangement to and actually just stole it from a Joe Walsh record, Rocky Mountain Way. But it had McKeag singing, and we brought in Warren King to play slide. And Frank Zuri, I think, actually played, he might have played keys on it a little bit, but I know he also sang the background. And that song got us the record deal, and when we got the record deal, Frank said, hey, he was playing with the Jaggers. He said, I'll quit and I'll come and play with you guys. If you get a deal, we got the deal. So he did. But anyway, after the first year or so, McKeag left because the rest of us were all nutbags. And he knew that he couldn't hang with us any longer because we were losing our souls. We really were some wow people. But then we stayed with the four of us. And it was me, Frank, Beadman, and Warren King. And we, the next record we did right after McKaig left, we did a Dirty Diamonds record, which is looked on historically in a very bright light, like it was a great record. And I think it was a really good record. And then we did another record that no one really knew about, that I thought was even better, but it was a little less of the heavy genre. And this heavy genre seems to have a little bit more of a crazy fan base that hangs on to that heavy music. But we did a record called Rough Cuts. And then after that, we kept the band going for another couple years and cut a mess of shit. And I just dug up all the shit that we cut. And one of the things, I'm going to talk about it later. In 1978, we used to play these shows out in a place called Salina, Ohio, which is actually where Rick Derringer's from. And it's not far from Indiana. And we used to play there for these really beautiful, dope-smoking, rock and rolling people. My buddy Ron Fry was the Red Eye Connection for me. And we cut a live recording there, and I just dug it up. And I think there's more songs to it, but I couldn't find the other master. But the songs I got on this live thing, it's cut live to 1/4-inch tape. And it's Johnny Too Bad, Satisfied, Bright Lights, Heartbeat, Rock and Roll City, I Just Want to Rock You, Vengeance, Easy Money, Hey Mad Dog, Dangerous Stranger, and Bad News. And it's probably cut to about, I don't know how many people were there, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,200. And this beautiful barn, and they used to gather together, these rock and roll kids, dope smoking. I mean, it was just like you could just smoke joints right there and drinking beer. It was a fantastic place. And it was like it was America. You know, it was where young people, they all turned on to the changing of the world and the changing of the musical guard all at the same time, and there was a commonality among us all. We all liked our music thrown at us in a manful way. And but I have that, and I just got that transferred to a digital, so we're going to master it and see what the hell we can do with it. And I also found some mixes of songs called Roxana, which is a killer tune. Frank Zorri's finest work, plus Warren on slide. Another song called Ball and Chain, devastating. A version of Elvis Presley's Burning Love. Remember that tune? Lord Almighty, I can feel. Well, we'd slowed it down and put it in like a low, kind of like downshifted it, took it to this lower gear. And it's just, can I say the word, delicious. Killer. And then we also have this song called Out in the Streets, which is, I don't know how you describe it, but it's, once again, it's killer. And then I found all this multi-track shit. So in other words, this shit's all cut 16-track. And I got it transferred to DID, so I'm going to be able to mix it. And Bryce and I are going to work on it together when he and I can join hands, roll up a couple fatties in that control room right over there, and just start cooking in the kitchen, mixing in the control room. Satisfied, Johnny Too Bad. And Johnny Too Bad is the same song and same arrangements, basically, that the Silencers did on their first record. But it was something we did with the Diamonds first. And I believe it was Frank Zorri's idea, the arrangement. Because it was a Jimmy Cliff thing, and it was walking down the road, like a nice reggae thing, and really killer song. But we turned it into, and I think it was on Frank's suggestion, into like a kind of like an up-tempo, walking down the road, and it's just blazing. That's a word my cousin Larry used to use when he heard Warren King play. He'd say, Kingfish, he blaze. That's how he talked. Then he'd make a face, he'd go, Kingfish, he blaze. And then he'd give you the face. like that. But yeah, so it's Satisfied, Johnny Too Bad, a version of Ready Freddy, and I haven't heard it yet, but I think Frank's singing it. I know Frank really wasn't up on that song, so I don't know if we're going to use it, but I'll see what it sounds like. And then we also cut Gone Dead Train. Are you kidding me? Remember the Stones? From Performance, I think it was. And I think it was written by Jack Nitsky. I'm not sure, but it's a killer. And Warren King plays slide on it, and it is just dangerous. I also have this song called Temptation, which is one of the first songs I wrote by myself, and I sang it. So I don't know if we're going to use it, but it was a song I played for my friend at the radio station that he thought, when he's heard it, he says, "Who's singing that?" And I said, "Well, that's me." And he says, "Well, I like that voice." So one of the songs that got me thinking maybe I should try and step out on my own as I hate to use the word singer, but we'll just, how about saying vocalist?
Song stylist.
Song stylist. Tell him, Tom. Tom's talking smart. And that's a nice way of saying he don't sing so good, but something about him is cool. He's a song stylist. And that's what I was at best. Live Wire, which I'm not sure the version of it. I know we did a couple mixes of that. I might have cut a couple different versions of it. And one of them might even have been on one of the Rough Cuts releases. A Burning Up. I don't know if we'll use that when I get to the mixes. Another song called Skin and Bone that is just... Hey, you know what? It's heavy music played by men with rocks in their shorts. Okay? It's not that candy-ass shit. It's not some... You know, we used to play with these heavier bands. That one with some one guys. And they were good. I mean, I shouldn't make fun of them. Because sometimes I think I sound like an a-hole. But they were from up north. It might have been Canadian. They had a little guy stepping on pedals. And I hate one thing I hate is when a guitar player's playing, then he runs up and he goes, "Get that." Tippy toes up to his goddamn pedals. What's in your shorts, man? Burn it out. Dig deeper. Sorry. Dangerous Stranger. Who's that dangerous stranger coming to your town? Always looking for the stranger. I'm a stranger and I just can't settle down. Killer tune. I mean, just manful. This song has hair on its back. Okay? That's how manful it is. Vengeance. This is like almost kind of like a 12-bar rock and roll. Punky. Killer tune. You got to do it with vengeance, baby. That was Frank Zuri at his finest. Shakedown is this like... It's a killer tune, and it's kind of like... Does anybody out there in the land of the internet remember Dr. Feelgood, which was a band? Tom, you remember them?
Oh, yeah.
4-piece?
Wilco Johnson is
Yes.
my hero.
The guitar player.
I always tried to figure out how to move around like him. But I could never do it.
Wasn't happening, right? And Wilco, Tom knows who I'm talking about with this band. And Wilco Johnson played a Telecaster, always. And he never used a pick. And he just played with his fingers. And the band was a 3-piece, guitar, bass, drums, with a singer. Very simple. And they came out in the new wave punk rock era, but they weren't... They were punk in attitude, but musically they were derivative of rhythm and blues music. And so it was like a punky rhythm and blues kind of thing. And boy, they were delicious. And this song, Shakedown, is kind of inspired by them and our good feelings for what we saw in their music. High Rollers. Boom, 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 boom. And that is an amazing piece of music. And that's kind of like a heavy, upbeat tune that is just fantastic. Shake, we did a reggae version. Once again, it was Frank's idea, I believe, to do Shake, a reggae version of the Sam Cooke song Shake. Listen while I'm talking to you. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Really, and Frank, it gave Frank a chance to sing his Corleones off, and for us to let the bead man feel this like reggae groove with the white boy reggae vibe. Gorilla. I wrote that song back then, and I think I have the version. I have Frank Zori sings lead on it. I'm hoping. I haven't heard it yet. And then another slow song called Love Is Blind that I haven't heard, but I remember that it was good, but I can't, we'll see what happens with that. But that's what I got. And so that's a bunch of music. I don't know, it's a setup to do about, there's a couple cover songs. There's the Burnin' Love, Gone Dead Train, and Shake. So there's 3 songs that we didn't write, and probably about 12. Also, Johnny Too Bad is a cover. So there's probably about 3 or 4 covers and about 12 originals that we haven't ever released, and I think we're going to get that out there soon enough. And also, like I said, the Live at the Red Eye album. So it's neat to... I'm all excited that I left that band in 1979. And how many years ago is that, Tom? 41? 41 years ago. And all these years later, and this was just about the time when I started feeling like I had gotten a lot of mistakes out of my system. Not that I was not going to make some other major mistakes along the way, but I think I had, and I think with the Diamonds, this era for the Diamonds was, we were together, like the original version of the Diamonds was kind of poppy, and it didn't sound like a rock and roll band, a seasoned rock and roll band. It sounded like guys that put a record together, and it was cool. And it featured 2 really good singers and some cool arrangements. But what we were doing, but 4 years later with this Diamond shit, we had worked constantly and gigged constantly and driven in the truck constantly and found ourselves as a little fighting unit, us against the world. And you know, one of the greatest feelings for me in the world is to be in one of those acts, us against the world. You know, that's when you have that, you have something so cool, because you have the camaraderie of your team and you have an enemy, and those are 2 key elements to competition and to getting a lot out of life, you know. So anyway, next year sometime we're going to bring this Diamonds. I think the name of the album with the original songs, not the live album, it might be Diamond Rio, the Diamonds, might be the name of the record. So we're going to look for that. How you doing, you little monkeys? Oh, I dropped something. Maybe we should play a number. Oh, a little bit later, I want to talk about how many times cops and my band have had confrontations. How many times guys have got busted at gigs and things like that. We'll get to that. But let's play a number. What do you want to do? Oh, okay. I got one. Let's do this. This is one that I just wrote in the past couple of years. And it's one I'm pretty much into because it's a character piece. And when I say that, it's a song that introduces you to somebody and then tells you who they are and how they are. And that's what it is. A character piece. It creates, and it's over the course of time, and through different circumstance, you get to see this character, and when you that kind of writing is what I say. Like when you're really hitting it, when you're writing something, it should be like a little movie. A really good piece of music, when good lyrics, it can be a movie. You listen to the song and it tells you what happens throughout the 2 hours that it takes to do a movie. You do it in 2.5 minutes in a song. And that's one of the ways to approach a song, I call it, this is a character piece. It's about a person. It's about a girl. You might know her. And if you don't know her, you know someone like her. I hope you do. And this girl did a lot of living. And that's her claim to fame. That's who she was. And it's a song called All She Wants to Hear Is the Blues. She had man, plenty of them, but things never seemed to work out. Took on a woman one time, back in college, she was living wild. Might have had a threesome or two. Now all she wants to hear is the blues. She had money, lots of it when she made up with that man. He had a woman that he kept on the side. Then him and that bitch just up in rent. Took all that money with him too. Now all she wants to hear is the blues. Yeah, the bending and moaning and bad to the boning makes you feel sad. Hit the throw and a show and a saxophone blowing, put a big smile on her face. She found religion for a minute and she found something else. Come in a bottle, cold out of glass, and there ain't no goddamn good for your health. After she's had a few, all she wants to hear was the blues. She had a daughter, looks just like her. You should see that girl dance. She get out on the floor. Ain't none of them young fellas even stands a chance. Cause when she puts on them dancing shoes, all she wants to hear is the blues. Yeah, the swing and the sing and the guitar's ringing gets her to feeling alright. Hey, the time out of the rhyming is so sublime to keep her on the floor all night. And all she wants to hear, just like her mother dear, all she wants to hear is the blues. Hear the blue, well. Oh! I wish I could have danced to that one. You'd see me out in the flow like a little monkey. Like a little Italian monkey. Oh, swinging it to and fro. Doing a couple power moves. How you doing? One of these moves here where you take your belt buckle and it's just looking like this, and then you give that look and you kind of dance with your face and you give that look that my cousin Larry would give you after he'd say something beautiful. He'd always say something like, "You're right in a Gucci," and then he'd go. That's how I would dance, with my face. You ever do that? I'm glad you didn't. Good. Because if you did, I'd know that you're a weirdo. I showed you my picture of my friend Felix, right? Big, hairy backed, 6'4", 6'5", hands like shit hooks, all rough. You touch his hands, he could, sand down a board with his hands. That's how rough his hands are. And I always think, put them hands on a wonderful lady's soft skin. It was just scraped the beautiful skin. What the hell am I talking about? Tom, what the hell is wrong with me? Tom's starting to get ready to disown my ass talking that shit. He's like, you know what? I drove down there a couple hours. Here you talking weird freak shit? Get the hell out of here. Moondog. Is Moondog watching? If there's anybody at the Starlight Lounge, hang with my friend. I think my friend Dan said he might be going over there to get a fishy. Maybe he's over at Mooney's. And Moon's probably in the back room. Boy, where he always is. He's cooking. And but then he's probably sitting out there. I think he's probably watching the World Series and watching the Manful Handful. One on each screen. He's a two-fisted screen man. Bang, bang, bang. All she wants to hear is the blues. You can download this music. I think Tom has a sign he puts up, and it talks about downloading this music. Whole LPs or single tracks. $10 for a whole LP. Amazon or iTunes. Notorious, Bonafide, Redemption, It's Alive, Breakdown in Paradise, and This Old Train, baby. We got a lifetime's worth of music and more coming. We also got, and I haven't done this yet. I don't know if there's much interest in it. But this is 25 years ago was the time when I got blackballed by the Evil Empire radio station. And it was the night I got blackballed. It might have been tonight. This might be the exact day. If it ain't, it's close. That I played, I opened for the House Rockers. They had Bruce Springsteen come in and he fronted that band. And it was a show at Fat City down in the South Side. And we recorded my show. It was 2 nights, Friday night and Saturday night, or Thursday and Friday, I can't remember. But anyway, I have a recording of it. And I think I told you, the reason I got blackballed 25 years ago, and still am, was for saying a poem. And I have the poem along with all the music that we cut. I could probably put out a record of about 11 or 12 pieces of music. Stuff like, what's that one song? Colorblind. God damn. Living off the fat of the land. Nothing to lose. All these different eras of Norman music. It boggles my little peanut head that I've been around this long and have never stopped creating new eras of Norman music. But anyway, that night I recited a poem that got me in trouble. And the poem's so delicious. It's so effing goddamn delicious that I'm going to recite it for you guys right now. Tom, let me purse my lips. Take a deep breath and just drink myself in and recite this wonderful poem. And I'd like to send it out to the evil empire and the sons of bitches there that took away my history. And when you take away my history in this time, you take away the rock and roll history of this time. And that ain't no bullshit. I tip my hat to Joe and Bruce. But now it's time to turn the monkey loose. If you like what you hear, it's time to realize. Tell Pittsburgh Radio to open their eyes. Because I was here when it started. And I'll die on this stage. Pittsburgh rock and roll, I wrote my own page. So pick up your phones and tell the powers that be. Don't be afraid of a man like me. 'Cause pound for pound, round for round, even tonight, I'm the baddest man in this town. Oh, you little greaseball. Telling it like it is. Standing up and being somebody in your own hometown. For that reason, I blackballed for 25 years for acting like a rock and roll guy. And the reason I acted like a rock and roll guy is because I am. That's what I grew into. I could have grown into a little panty waist, little sissy boy. I could have. The option was there. I could have gone out and flitted around and strummed some nice guitars and sang some nice things and said nice words. I didn't choose that. You know what I choose to do? Strap it on. Stand up and be somebody. Drop the hammer, bang! You know, I should take the chief and bang him on the bedroom door a couple times. Boom, boom, boom! Manful. But 25 years, that's a long time to be blackballed. For reciting a poem in a performance. Instead of, I didn't cower down and look and walk on stage in defeat because I'm playing on someone else's show that has a big world-class rock star. I didn't curl up like a little puss. I stood up like a man and said, let's fight. Let's fight. You got all the money, you got all the success, you got all the support, you got all the airplay, but you know what I got? I got a couple rocks in my shorts. And I ain't taking no shit. I'll give you a goddamn slap. And so I did. I had my friend Waddy Cooper on drums. He had been with me for many years. Trained assassin. And I had a bass player from New Jersey, Dago boy, named Chaluch, who was a killer blues singer and blues guitar player that didn't have no work. I think my Harry left. He had gotten married and moved to Colorado, so I needed a bass player. The guy that played bass for me that night had been playing bass 2-3 weeks. I bought him a bass out of Hollywood's, $200. I taught him a few moves, and we started gigging. That's how I went on stage, with a bass player and a drummer who really knew what he was doing, and a bass player that never played bass hardly but for a couple weeks. We didn't cower down. We weren't an opening act. We were the headliner in our hearts. We were gunning for the show. We had, it's like Apollo Creed, Rocky. Did he take his balls? Did he tuck them? He didn't tuck. He put his chin out. And he fought. And that's what you do. You be somebody. And then you know you're alive. You're not going, let me kiss your ring. No. You're in my town. And I'm a badass. Sons of bitches. God. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. When you use humor and entertainment, you're using a secret weapon. A lot of folks are afraid to include humor, or it doesn't occur to them how important it is, and how, may I use the word once again, I used it earlier, delicious. You can make a recipe when it's the secret weapon. Humor. You know what it does? It slides down the panties. Panties are on the floor. Harry used to always tell me, he'd say, Napoleon said a woman laughing is a woman something, I don't know. But there's something to that. Humor is so effective in a way to gain people's attention, to keep people's attention, and to have them to remember the experience. Clowns. And, clowns are getting, my niece is afraid of clowns. I guess somebody made some scary movies about clowns or some shit like that. Clowns are getting a bad rap. But clowns like kings, they used to have, a court jester. Like we used to have a joint roller. But he didn't. Maybe the king didn't have a joint roller, but he had a jester that would just come in and make me laugh, humor me. Kings would act that way, and the little monkey would come in and go, "Ooh, ooh, yes, king." It's not beneath me to use humor. It's not beneath. When I say beneath, down here, it's not there. It's up here. Humor is, I don't know how else to say it, but it's a trick that you use that always effing works. But it's hard to use for some people because they never get comfortable enough to go there. But when you're comfortable in your pants and you're somebody, ain't nothing wrong but reaching down in your pants and pulling up a few inches of humor. I shouldn't have said it like that, should I? When I said it, I was really reaching for that. May I just say, Look in the mirror, what do I see? Face of a clown looking at me. Ain't good for much more than a laugh. Jokes that have cracked, you don't know the half. And you can tell the ringmaster that I'm in town. And I'm looking for a circus, looking for a clown. My kind of work, it's hard to find. Barnum and Bailey come to mind. If they're looking for a man that's funny, I'll be under the big top making my money. That's the way I see it going down. And I'm looking for a circus, looking for a clown. There's folks that tell you I'm the best in the biz. Road dog like me, but everywhere that there is. Jersey Shore, nothing but smiles in the roadhouse. They roll in the eyes. Well, you can talk to my agent and he'll tell you straight, tell you I was climbing right out of the gate. Aim to please a guy that need to amuse just to hear. Take away your blues and you can bet your sweet ass I've been around. And I'm looking for a circus. Looking for a circus. Looking for a circus. Looking for a clown. Well, Dean Martin. How about Dean Martin? Humor, right? When he bring out, remember the girls? What were they called? The June effing Taylor dancers. You kidding me? All them long, they all had them long legs on them. Big knockers, bang, bang. And they would get out and they would swing their legs. Gee, I was just a little boy, I'd start chubbing. As a little child. And I knew it was right and I knew it was wrong. You know what I mean? I didn't want no one to know that I was chubbing. But I was boring! You can't. I remember one time, my buddy Dealey, who's out in California, watches our shows. He'll remember this night. We were all partying at our buddy Peter Barnett's house. And it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was, what's I use that word? Is that the word decadent? It was one of those nights everybody was being a total maniac. And there was a couple English chicks hanging there. And they were juiced up, laughing and having fun. And my buddy had his son, who was like 5 or 6 years old, woke up because we were all going so crazy. And the kid comes down in the room. There's probably about 20 people like all skying. And the little kid comes down and he sits on the couch. And on either side of the little kid comes one of these hot English chicks, and they sit right beside this little 5 or 6 year old boy. And they're all giggling and laughing, and everybody's going crazy. And this little boy, we were all there when he got his first stiffy. Boing! And one of the English girls goes, "He's got one!" It was like, are you kidding me? How inappropriate is this story that I'm telling you? But it was a moment in this child's life that we were all there. Now he's a grown man. And, but I was there when he got his first, when he chubbed up. Are you kidding me? And it was so rock and roll. This is rock and roll. These moments of, can I use the word excellence? It was an excellent moment. I wonder if he remembers it. I'd have to talk to him. How great is that? He chubbed. I got a few other songs to play too. Oh, one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to play Happy Birthday to a buddy of mine. My buddy Tall Paul. And my buddy Tall Paul was working me over. He's trying to get me to give him. No, he's not trying to get me to give it to him. I shouldn't say that. He's always wanted this guitar. And I'm starting to think I might have to lay it on his tall ass. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to my friend Tall Paul. He's just told. That's all. I met him down at Excuses, an amazing club on this trip down in the south side of Pittsfield, Pennsylvania. Happy birthday to you. A birthday, a birth. My buddy Ralphie used to say, birth. He said, happy birthday. He was, that's another inappropriate story. I already told that one. I shouldn't tell another one. I'll save this inappropriate story for another show.
Yes.
But it's a good one.
One inappropriate story per show.
One totally. Like, you know why? Because we got class. We ain't stupid. What are we, animals? We ain't. We're just jerk-offs. What was that other song I wanted to play? Oh, okay. This one is a song I wrote after talking to Larry Seifers. I've played it on the show before. And I wrote it after Larry told me that his parents took him aside when his parents were like pretty straight, rigid people that believed in having money and having things. And Larry was born unto them like after the other couple sons were born, like 10, 15 years later. He was like an afterthought child. And the other sons that they had grew up like the parents. But Larry grew up a different way. He had different thoughts. He had his own thoughts. And he wanted to be a musician. He wanted to be free. And he wanted to let his hair grow long. And he wanted to get laid. And he wanted to enjoy life. He wanted to play music. And his parents thought all those things were, devil-inspired. But when he was a little kid, Larry's parents told him, they says, Larry, there's two kinds of people in the world. The haves and the have-nots. And you don't want to be a have-not. And they would point this out to him. But even as a little child, he was thinking, maybe I do. Maybe I do want to be a have-not. I mean, he was leaning that way just naturally. and which is beautiful. In other words, he was going to be an individual, and he was not going to fall under the powerful hand of his parents of being someone who was concerned with what they got and what they don't got, which I talk about as a minimalist. It ain't about what you got. It's about what you got in your pants. You see what I'm saying? But I'd like to send this out to my friend Larry Seifers, who gets mad at me. He's always got mad at me because I ain't right. You know what I mean? I say stupid shit all the time. I act up. I draw attention to myself. I'm a big mouth. I'm a know-it-all sometimes. I'm a showboat, no question. And I was always that way. And before I even had earned the right, even a little bit, to be that way, I was that way. So in other words, I was just a stone jerk most of my childhood. But anyway, I'm going to send this out to Lally. It's a little thing called The Haves and the Have-Nots. Some guys got it, some guys never will. Some guys scrape a nickel, some make it rain $50 bills, and that's the way that it is. It's a little of a lot, and you all got the haves, and you got the have-nots. Some guys are born with a silver spoon, some born to stand in a welfare line. Some guys are sipping Dom Perignon, and some are slurping country moonshine, and that's the way that it is. It's a little of a lot, and you all got the haves, and you got the have-nots, got the haves, got the have-nots, got the haves, got the have-nots. Crowded at the bottom, lonely at the top. You got the haves, and you got the have-nots. Hey, well, there's a guy in a jet airliner slipping down to the Gulf Coast show. Another guy slumping in the back of a jitney on his way to the liquor store, and that's the way that it is. It's a little of a lot, and you all got the haves, and you got the have-nots. You all might have a million, you all might be down on your luck. Might have showed up here tonight in a Cadillac or a broke down pickup truck, and that's the way that it is. It's a little of a lot, and you all got the haves, and you got the have-nots, got the haves, got the have-nots, got the haves, got the have-nots. Crowded at the bottom, lonely at the top. You got the haves, got the haves, you got the haves, and you got the have-nots. Hey. And Larry, you don't want to be a have-not. How you doing? The have-nots. Funky little delicious slice. Now you can take a piece of music like that and you can funk it up real good. Put something like that down with that foot. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? Right over here. Nice spacious rhythm guitar. Organ. Whee! Couple of background singers. Whoo, whoo. Singing. And then you come in with you got the haves and you got the have-nots. You know what you got? You got a funky, delicious little slice of rock and rhythm heaven. Because I'll come right over there and give you a smack right on your shit can. Right on your ass cake. Bang! You know, we all have an ass. You know what I'm saying? How crazy. We all have ass meat. And filling up our pants. That fascinates me. And it probably shouldn't. I shouldn't have said that. So I'll say it again. We all have ass meat. I got some other things I wanted to play. Let's do this one I wrote, I think 1989. And I think Glenn Pavone and his Cyclones put it on their first release. Little thing called, and I've done it a million times. I like doing it early in the night because it's just real casual and it gives you a chance to, you know, when we were young, we used to come out banging at the beginning of the night. And we didn't get to play all that long. You know, the shows were short, 50 minutes, 40 minutes, 40 minutes open for another act. So you come out banging. As soon as the lights come on, you're firing. But as I got older and started getting songs, a list of songs like this long, and started having so many songs and being so comfortable on stage, I never wanted to get off stage because I had everything I needed to stay there. And had all three things that you need. Material, material, and material. When you want to stay on stage, you got to have the meat. You got to have one good song after another. And the way I've lived and the way I've spent my time, that's the one thing I did have. I didn't accumulate money. I didn't accumulate corporate friends that could help push me up the ladder. I accumulated stage meat, material, songs. The stories of the songs were so divinely delicious that I could turn the music down and turn my intensity down and let the words to the songs entertain the natives. Do you see what I'm saying? I didn't know I was doing it. It happened in a natural way. But this is a song, it's not a story. This is just really a totally simple piece of music you could write in 10 minutes. But something about it, there's a trueness to it. And the fact that Glenn Pavone and his Cyclones did it often gave it, dare I say, wings. And I take those wings and attach them to me. And I fly with the angels with it. I don't think I would be redoing this song and living through this song had those guys not gave it a credibility. Because that band was one of the best bands in the history of our city. And the fact that they did it and did it often and had it on a record gave the song a brassiere. A song needs a brassiere. You know, this show that we're doing is a brassiere for the songs that I present. Because I'm not able to gig right now, so I have to lift the songs up some way. I have to give them a stage where they can rage, and that's what we're doing here. But let's do this one. It's a thing called Look What You Done. And when I'm announcing on stage, I'd always say, look what you did. And then I'd say that to Whitey. You know what Whitey do? He'd go like this, Tom. He'd give me one of these looks. He'd be like, yeah. And then we'd play it. And if you see Whitey, you tell that MFer. You know what, Whitey, Tom? You know what the definition of a jerk-off is? Do you know? Let me tell you. Whether you know or not, I'll tell you what it is. A jerk-off is someone, like Whitey, who goes around telling people, that he writes my songs. Like he would say, like I'd introduce a song, and then right before I'd start it, Whitey would always go on the microphone. I really wrote this one. And he would always say, like it posts on Facebook, he would say, when I wrote that song, I was thinking this. And it's like, that's the definition of a stone jerk-off. and we were pandemicized. I'd climb up his goddamn leg. You know, Whitey's skin is so white that it's almost green. I would give him a slap right across his lips for putting my words coming out of his mouth. Although I do like when he sings my music, so let me think about that. The thoughts in my mind. How's this go? We'll try it. See what we got. Look what you done. You broke my heart. Look what you done. You tore it apart. I hope you're having fun. Look what you done. Look what you done. You're messing with me. Look what you done. You won't let me be. I hope you're having fun. Look what you done. You come around here with your wild ideas about to drive poor me insane. If you keep on talking out of your head, gonna put me in my grave. Look what you done, you make me cry. Look what you done, now I don't know why. I hope you're having fun. Look what you done. Come around here with your wild ideas, about to drive poor me insane. If you keep on talking out of your head, you're gonna put me in my grave. Look what you done, you broke my heart. Look what you done, you tore it apart. I hope you're having fun. Look what you done. I hope you're having fun. Look what you done. Look what you done. Well, Now you see, if I didn't have to play that, I'd be dancing to it. And if I was dancing to it, I'd have my eyes closed. And I'd be just focusing on myself. Which doesn't sound like something sounds like something I do pretty much 24 hours a day, right? Well, okay, it is. But I'd be like grinding deep. I'd be grinding on the outside, but I'd be really grinding on the inside. And that's the Dag in me, the 100% Italian. You know, like I'd be like, oh, almost like I was in pain. That's how good it would feel. What's that John Cougar, he said, it hurts so good, right? A little, he's from Indiana. My friend PK knows him. You know PK? Lavengood, guitar player? Oh, he's a badass. He's delicious. He's from Indiana, but he lives out in Jersey. He plays with John Eddy. You know John Eddy? Who that is? Good songwriter and good entertainer. Really is. But PK's his guitar player, and he's a really talented cat. Hey, look what you done, right? Let's take a look at what we have here. Okay.
8 minutes.
8 minutes?
8 minutes.
Oh, I was just going to get into this whole thing. I don't know if I have time. Well, let me just do this. I can't get into this other thing I was going to get into, but I can do this. I'm going to talk about shit that's happened at gigs and how great gigging is. And these particular instances are times that cops were involved. Okay, so this one here, we'll start with this one here. I'm playing in Tuckerton, New Jersey at this bar. Tuckerton is like in South Jersey, and it's a town, almost like a town in Pennsylvania. It's not like what you think of, all the Dagos with their chest wigs and all that shit. Tom, you like that one? I got Tom going with the chest wigs, right? But it ain't like that kind of New Jersey. It's like down in South Jersey, and it's a lot of flannel shirts and a lot of dope smokers, a lot of partiers. And I'm playing this bar, and I think the name of the bar was Miller's. And the guy that owned the bar loved me. And he used to always say to me, "I'm your biggest fan, man. I'm your biggest fan." And my buddy James Dealey actually hooked me up with the gig. Dealey had been playing there, and when I moved out there, he says, "I can get you some work." So he called this guy and he says, "Look," he says, "you got to hire my buddy." He says, "You're going to love this effing guy." So I went and played for him, and so he started booking me all the time. And I'm playing a show there. We do the first set, and the owner was always sitting at the audience. He'd always scream up, "I'm your biggest fan, man." And I'm probably my fourth or fifth gig there, and I do my first set. And even then, I play my first set. I'd play for 90 minutes. Most bands, they come up and play for 45 minutes. I like to work. So I do my set, and we take a break, and we all scatter, and everybody goes and takes a couple hits somewhere. And I come back for the second set, like 25 minutes, because we would play 90 minutes, take a half hour off, and then play the rest of the night. So I come back for the second set, and my bass player, I can't find him. And I started. I says, "Anybody?" I says, "You see him?" I says, we're gonna get back to work." And this guy from the audience, who I didn't know, he says to me, he says, "Hey, dude," he says, "the cops were out there." He says, "They grabbed somebody." He says, "They took somebody in." I said, "Are you serious?" He says, "Oh yeah." He says, "I seen him do it." And I went, "They got my boy," and I knew they did. So I went up on stage, and I went over and I told the club owner, and I says to him, "Look, dude," I says, "I think my bass player got popped." And he says, "Well, you better get back to work." He says, "There's asses in the seats. Put on a show." So I went up on the stage and I says, "Hey, is there anybody here tonight that plays bass?" I said, "I need a bass player to get through the rest of this goddamn night." And some guy come up and said, I play bass. And I says, "Can you hang?" And I said to him, "Can you play these kind of forms and do this shit? Can you follow me?" And he was like, "Strap me in." And so he did. And the guy played decent. And we worked. And we got through, till there was like 10 minutes left. And then my boy, who had gotten busted, showed back up at the club. They just took him in, did his paperwork, and they let him go. And he came back in for the last couple songs of the night. Busted in Tuckerton, New Jersey. I just saw a guy the other day, and I could hear, I heard him talking. I was with my old lady, and I heard this guy talking, and as soon as I heard it, he was sitting at another table, far away, but I heard his voice, and so I went over, walking past him. I said, "You ain't from Jersey, are you?" And he gave me one of these. Like, "How'd you know?" And I says, "Where are you from?" He says, "Tuckerton." And I just looked at him. I said, "Son of a bitch." I said to him, "Hey, I've never been in jail there, but God at work for me was." How about this one? I'm playing in New York City, and Tom, what was the name of that club in the East Village that everybody played at? That was like a ship. Do you know what I mean?
Bottom line?
No.
You don't mean the bottom line.
No, I played the Bottom Line. I played there with the Price Sultan Band. Remember Chasm Sultan plays with the bass player? He had a band with Tommy Price, who was the drummer that played with Billy Idol and Joan Jett. I met him when he was playing with Mink DeVille with that buddy of yours from Ricky
Borgia.
Right. Well, I played with them at the Bottom Line, but I played at this other club, and it was something that had like some kind of theme, something to do with a ship.
Kenny's Castaways.
Kenny's Castaways. I'm playing at Kenny's Castaways, and And at Kenny's Cat, they'd always put me on real late on like a Saturday night. Like I'd go on like at 2:30 in the morning or something, which was a good time for New York City back then. This was in the 90s. And it's not long before I'm supposed to go on, and a New York City cop comes up to me and he goes, "You Norman?" I'm like, "Yes, sir, I am." He says, "Come on outside, I want to talk to you." And I'm in New York City. I go on in like 10 minutes, and this New York City cop, and he goes, I follow him outside, and he turns around and looks at me. He says, "Hey, man," he says, "I got to talk to you." He says, "I got this kid sitting in the car. Says he works for you." I says, "Oh, yeah?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "One of my undercovers officers busted him walking around the village here, asking people if they know where he could buy some cocaine. And don't worry, I have the money on me." He says, "I don't know where you guys are from." He says, "You talk that way in the village." He says, "You're going to get yourself killed." He said, my undercover guy picked him up, and I got him in the car. He says he belongs to you. I says, "He used to belong to me." I says, "If he'd have bought some cocaine, he'd have been putting it in my truck, and I'd have been transporting it without even knowing it." And he said, "What do you want me to do with him?" I says, "Do what you're going to do with him." And he went over and says, "Well, come and take a look at him and make sure he is who he says he is." So I went over and looked at him. It was my boy sitting in the car with his head down. I says, "Yeah, he's one of mine." And I said, "See you later." And they took him away. How about that one? How much do you love rock and roll? How much do you love gigging? How about this one? This is a killer one. In fact, there's two stories that go along with these guys. One is, in fact, this is one of Moondog's first experiences with me before we knew each other. I was playing an afternoon show at Point Park with the Diamonds, and we was wild people. We've gone over that. And I had this roadie. There was two of them. They were brothers. They were from Maine, and they were maniacs. They were Pat and his brother Frosty, but he called Frosty, Pat and Frosty. And after we loaded the truck, Pat was outside smoking a joint outside Point Park College, and the cops seen him from across the street and pointed at him and started walking over to him. So Pat took his dope and threw it down the drain, and it was just reefer. But the cop got all thought it was some kind of big narcotics bust he was going to make, and so he brought in somebody to pull the drain thing off and get down there and find out what it was. They found out it was like $7 worth of pot. But Moondog saw that shit going on, and they said it was the Diamonds upstairs playing. So he says, "The first time I knew you were trouble, because you were trouble then." But anyway, another story with Pat and Frosty is this. We were supposed to play a date in D.C., and at the time I had a big truck, like a 12-foot or 18-foot box van, And the roadies, Pat and Frosty, were supposed to drive down there. Two brothers, and they were always fighting. And I had the band in my truck, in my van, and so we all met up, and then it was like, "Hey, all right, we'll see you there." So we drive down and we get there, and when we get there, Pat and Frosty pull in behind us, and they come out of the truck, and Pat got a big black eye, blood rolling down his face, and like it was purple. And I was like, "What the hell happened to you?" He says, "That son of a bitch punched me." And his brother goes, "I told him to shut up." He says he wouldn't shut up, so he says, "I popped him while I was driving." He reached over and punched his brother right in the face. And he showed up in the gig with a purple eye with blood running down. Rock and roll, man. Are you kidding me? That's the shit. There's a couple other stories of greatness.
We're over time, actually.
Oh, we're over time. All right, let me just play a little bit, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Hey guys, Alone 15, thank you so much for hanging with us and staying with us. We're here, and we're near enough, and we want to get with you, and we want to stay with you. Follow us, and if you like what we do, tune in again. And if you don't like us, tell someone you don't like about us, and turn them on to us, and let me torture them. I'll do that for you in your name, even if you mention it. I'll tell you. Hey, thanks for being with us, and take a couple seconds of this one here. look like? Joints jumping, pimps and hoes, but there's something missing till you show. It ain't a party till you get here. When you arrive, everybody get turned up. The joint come alive. You'll make my blues disappear. It ain't a party till you get here. I hope I've made myself perfectly clear. It ain't a party till you get here. Well, alone 15, baby. The manful handful, the wop at the bop, the guinea with the skinny, throwing and showing and blowing kisses at you.